Welcome to MK True Crime. I'm Jonna Spilbor, your host today. I'm a former prosecutor, current criminal defense attorney, and founding attorney of Jonna Spilbor Law. Here's what's on the docket.
Innocent of what I'm charged with, yes, sir. I'm not an innocent man, but I'm not guilty of what they charged me with.
He's already proven that he does stuff like this, so don't give him an opportunity to take somebody else's family.
Their whole family.
He's a young man, and he is being treated like a human ping pong ball between two warring jurisdictions here. These federal and state prosecutors are coordinating with one another.
She's throwing a knife. Oh, no, her knife's sticking out.
What?
There's a knife sticking out of her heart.
Oh, she stabbed herself?
Want to know about something positive and upbeat? Well, I've been telling you about Firecracker Farm Hot Salt. It's been a showstopper gift and must-have item for anyone that enjoys spicing up their food. But what exactly is hot salt? Well, it's sea salt infused with a blend of hot pepper that's made by a wonderful little family company. It comes in sleek, stainless steel push grinders that feel great in hand and are really satisfying to use. Their motto is, everything's better with hot salt. And based on the reviews, customers are in full agreement. So give it a try. Go to firecracker.farm right now and use the code MK at checkout for a special discount. That's firecracker.farm, code MK. Get yourself some hot salt before it's all gone. You'll thank me.
An abandoned baby, a quadruple murder, a week-long manhunt, and an ex-corrections officer girlfriend. This is the stuff of a Hollywood movie, only it's real life. We're going to dive into the Austin Drummond case as requested by our listeners. September is a big month for Luigi Mangione with key scheduling and motion decisions happening. We're going to get you up to speed. And the 2011 case of Ellen Greenberg, a woman whose death was initially ruled a suicide, is back in the spotlight as her parents continue to fight the city of Philadelphia for an independent autopsy review. Wait till you hear why. I am joined today. Not just joined. I'm honored today to be here with fellow MK True Crime contributors and Kelly Court OGs, Arthur Aidala, criminal defense attorney extraordinaire and managing partner of Aidala, Bertuna, and Caymans, and second best dressed lawyer in New York. And Mark Eiglarsh, criminal defense attorney and team captain of the MK True Crime Pickleball League that I didn't know we had. You can find him at speaktomark.com.
I'd be the best dressed bald lawyer. And that should be a category. I mean, you guys discriminate, all you hairy people, against us disabled.
Speaking of that,
disabled
pick
folks.
your category.
Do I need spectacles to hang out with you too?
You might.
And Jonna, what are we doing here? Harry Carey called. He wants his glasses back. What are you doing?
No. Mark, this is sexy librarian. You don't see that?
Sorry, no. I'm married 25 years. Now I see it. Thank you for pointing that out.
Listen, Mark, just because you're on a diet doesn't mean you can't look at the menu. I mean, Jonna she's here for us to all, admire. That's what it's all about.
How's your wife doing, Arthur?
You know what I think we should do, guys?
She's my law partner. She's just not just my wife, okay?
I love
it's
that.
Okay. I'm not here. Pretend I'm not here. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, sorry. Apologies.
Okay.
We're doing a show now, right?
We are.
Can we talk about dead people? Can we do that?
Yes.
Can we get to
Let's
something
talk about
serious?
tragedies right now. We got three tragedies, one after another after another.
Right.
It should be an exciting show, folks.
Yeah.
We have a lot of dead people to talk about. And the first case we're going to talk about is interesting because our listeners suggested that we dive into this case, and dive in we did. It's a doozy. It's the case of defendant Austin Drummond. Now, Renata and Carolina both brought this case to us. I want to tell you what Carolina, she teed it up for us. Carolina said there was a quadruple murder near me in Tennessee, and a man named Austin Drummond was arrested after he was on the run. There was an infant in a car seat that was left in someone's random yard that is also related to the murder. I don't know what the motive is. I thought this might be an interesting case to study. P.S. I've been loving the show. We love you, Carolina, for saying that. And yes, we are going to dig into the Austin Drummond case. Okay, guys, do you want me to tee it up? Do one of you want to tee it up? I'll tee it up.
I refer to you. You're the host.
All right. So Austin Drummond, from what we know, is a guy who appears to have spent most of his adult life in the clink. Okay, for starters. He is alleged to have murdered 4 people that he considers to be his family. But here's I guess, the blessing in disguise. There was a 7-month-old baby at the scene who he thankfully spared. Now, he goes on the run immediately, but he's quickly caught. And the neighbors wanted to chime in. Let's run video 1. So here he looks like, I don't know, he looks like he's literally armed for bear. What's he doing? So he goes on the run. He gets quickly caught and claims now that he is an FBI informant. His defense attorney is saying, look, yeah, my guy was at the scene, but you can't put a gun in his hand. Well, what the heck was he carrying? Am I seeing things? What was he carrying in the video we just watched? So he's a little bit of a lunatic thinking, what is that, you guys? Is that a gun? Looks like a gun to me. No?
His bottom right hand, that's hanging on that right there.
It's not a bicycle seat.
It would appear to be a weapon. But what's his defense attorney supposed to say, Madam Defense Attorney? Yes, he was there. I mean, I had a case very similar. There's no doubt about it that my client was at the scene, but he was at the scene with 3 others. And the reasonable doubt that I was able to create with the jury, guilty verdict, was they didn't know who fired the gun. And that's what his defense is going to be here. Yeah, yes, I was here, but I wasn't the one who did it. Mark?
Right. The cell phone. Absolutely. That is the only defense. Beyond all doubt, the cell phones are going to put him precisely where he doesn't want to be. The question is, what specific evidence do they have that he pulled the trigger? I'm guessing they got more than just putting him on the scene.
Well, they also, which they're not supposed to bring in, but like I said, this guy has a storied past. He's been in jail, in prison since, I don't know, 2013. I mean, and every time he gets out, he screws up and goes back in again. He wasn't out. I should look this up. He was not out for very long.
Can we talk about that, Jonna? That's important to talk about. Somebody's got some splaining to do. Okay. First
about letting him out?
Yeah, not the prosecutor. Listen, the prosecutor fought against his parole. He was in for 10 years for aggravated robbery in 2014. Before that, he did a stint for robbery of a Circle K, July 2013. He made threats about the jurors. He got another crime for that. But here's the thing. He was labeled a dangerous felony offender by prosecutors, so he didn't get paroled. But then he was wanted for new charges, attempted murder and some drug charges, and somehow he got a bond, Jonna and Arthur. He got a bond. Someone explain that to me.
Well, let's just add on to it. The attempted murder happens when he's in prison. They beat the heck out of a guy to an inch of his life, and then he gets released from prison, and then these charges are brought.
Arthur, let's look at that. Let's look at video 2. Okay, here's this nice guy while he's in prison trying to beat the crap out of a fellow inmate, which, okay, I get that happens, but he should still be behind bars.
We're defense attorneys, right? I mean, we're supposed to zealously defend, right? No one can justify this guy being released. How is this guy not a danger to the community? With his history, I don't know that he's capable of living amongst us non-violently. So if you give him a bond,
that's a great point.
Yeah, if you give him a bond, Arthur, make it $1 million or $2 million so he can't reach that bond. There's no way he can get out. But the fact that he got out, hey, Judge, that blood's on you.
Last night I was discussing on the air the difference between evil and mental illness. And are they the same? Do they cross the line? And where do we draw the line? And in a society,
it's a good debate,
where even if somebody does not commit a crime, but they're clearly mentally ill to the point where they could do harm to themselves or others, where do their personal liberties stop and the protection of society steps in? The case I was discussing was this poor woman on the train in North Carolina, who a clearly mentally ill person, someone who society knew was mentally ill, had been in the system, takes out a knife and stabs her and kills her. This guy is in the same category, maybe not as much, because when they asked this guy, why'd you kill him? He said, well, because she was in my brain telling me what to do. I don't think our defendant is that insane. But when you have a life that this guy has had of consistently putting his insanity above those of society, I agree with Mark. Like, as defense attorneys, our job is usually to get people out of jail. But this is a guy I don't want walking around my neighborhood.
Can we find out the name of the judge? Think about this for a second. I'm just, again, you give him an opportunity to explain. But here's someone who, beyond all doubt, couldn't function in prison. So the answer is, well, just let him out in society with greater freedom and access to weapons. It just doesn't make any sense. And now 4 people are dead because of it.
You know what makes less sense? What makes less sense is that somebody had sex with that guy and got pregnant and is carrying his child.
You're so judgmental. You're so judgmental, Jonna. Love is blind, Jonna. Please.
But wait. The person who had sex with him apparently was a correction officer, I'm assuming at one of the facilities in which he was housed. Look at that, which is also a crime, as you guys know. You can't be a CO and be banging the inmates for obvious reasons. So she should also be facing some sort of charges, certainly not murder. But apparently this guy, A, has gang affiliations, big surprise there. B, he apparently either knew, was sort of related to all 4 of these victims somehow. So how does that
the girlfriend is
go down?
the sister, right? The girlfriend's the sister of one of the victims. I mean, this is like a very. I'm glad that the watchers brought this case to our attention, because this is like out of a Netflix documentary.
Right.
The fact that the way everybody is all connected here, and pardon me for being politically incorrect, but this is like the epitome of like white trash. Like, I'm going to kill people and have sex with their sisters. I mean, it's really insane. Like, if you were writing a novel, you'd struggle to bring this into your imagination. And there's ready for this? There's an order of protection from Drummond to everyone in the family, including the pregnant woman who's his girlfriend, who's going to be my baby's mama. And they both are fighting for the judge to lift the order of protection so he can talk to his future child's mother. And the judge said, no, you're not talking to anybody, and you guys can't talk to each other.
Jonna, let me ask you a question. Sure. What do you make of him returning the baby? And before you answer, my initial thought was, well, he knows eventually he's going back to prison, and they're the lowest of the low. He doesn't want to be seen as a baby harmer. But at the same time, he's yelling to anyone who will listen, including a network that publicized that he's cooperating with law enforcement, which also puts him on the baby killer level too. He's a snitch. So I don't understand it. Please help me understand it. Thank you.
No, because he's imagining that he's an FBI informant, which I guarantee you is not true. And the only reason why he let the baby live, but for the grace of God, like, he must have had one sane moment, right? One compassionate moment while he was offing 4 people in a car who he considers family. But just because, Arthur, if you were defending him, I know that you would do a fantastic job, but just because nobody can put a gun in his hand just yet, I don't think is going to matter much. He did have a prelim. He had a preliminary hearing. He had some interesting things to say there. People had some interesting things to say about him. Let's play SOT 1.
Mr. Wilson had been shot in multiple places in his body for approximately 11 times.
I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. Please. Please. Please tell me.
So we never love to hear that. That's the victim's family not very happy of having to sit through a preliminary hearing.
Jonna, let me just say this. That is one of the reasons, what we just saw in real life, why prosecutors do plead out cases. There are, sometimes prosecutors catch heat for pleading out murder cases or cases of extreme violence. And, people, why would they do that? Why would they do that? because a lot of times the family members, they don't want all of that out there. They don't want their deceased loved ones' autopsy to be shown to the whole world. And obviously, this is a videoed, live streamed court appearance. They don't want to deal with all that. And they say, look, I'd rather the guy do 3 less years in jail and not go through the trial and the trauma to my mother who's going to see her son shot or stabbed or whatever. Because it's, we've all done that. Mark, were you a prosecutor?
Oh, I prosecuted, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I was going to say, we've both been there. And it's, it's heart-wrenching and heartbreaking decisions that you have to make. But, putting the family through that trauma, it's never a pleasant experience for them in any way.
So Arthur and Jonna, they're seeking the death penalty in this case. And I ask you now objectively, we'll later compare it to Mangione, but they're seeking the death penalty in this case. 4 people died. Mm-hmm. Look at his history. Do either of you think that that's too much? I don't. Shouldn't this guy face the ultimate sanction?
No, it's unfortunate that he didn't spend more time in prison, but no, this is a multiple murder.
Right.
And
you said no. What does that mean?
It would deserve the death penalty.
Oh, okay, good. Arthur? Mm-hmm. Arthur?
Well, I'm not a big death penalty guy. I don't think killing someone is the way to show society that.
I'm not talking about you, Arthur. I'm talking about, don't you, if prosecutors are bringing the death penalty.
If I was the DA and the law was on the books and I took an oath to uphold that law.
Right.
Unlike some of the prosecutors here who say, I'm not going to enforce all of these laws that are on the books. Sorry for the editorialism right there. Yeah. But yes, if this does not qualify for a death penalty case, I'm not exactly sure what would.
Right. And do you offer to waive it in favor of a plea to life? I wouldn't.
But the problem is, Mark, death penalty will take 20, 30 years.
I'm with you.
Right?
Yep.
And so all that time, then what the family's like counting the years instead of counting the minutes. I mean, it's really hard. That's the problem with the death penalty not being an effective deterrent, because you're going to sit there and you're going to languish. You're going to get all this free legal representation and appeals and all of that. And so it just loses air.
I've made that same argument. It's 6 times the cost. There's no guarantees. There's no finality. I'm with you. The question is whether these facts are so horrible and so heinous that you don't then treat it like a single homicide where you give somebody a waiver of the death penalty and give them life. At some point, there has to be some objective criteria. This guy's history is so horrendous. It's so violent. And now 4 people are dead. 11 times he shot that man. At some point, the guy needs to face the ultimate sanction. That's not Mark arguing it. That's me saying, guys, if you still have the death penalty, there needs to be some objectivity to some extent.
Listen, Mark, I agree with you. But if I was the district attorney and I was enforcing the laws, I think under a situation like this, look, we just heard the mother wailing, right? Yeah. Wailing in pain. I would call them in. And I can tell you here in New York City, the Brooklyn district attorney, Eric Gonzalez, on homicide cases, he is very sensitive and listens very intently to the wishes of the deceased family. What do you want? Do you want to go through a protracted trial and, the 10 years of 20 years of litigation for the death penalty? Or do you want to just, you don't have to look at any autopsy photos. We don't have to hear the horrible details. And he'll be spending the rest of his life in prison. And didn't we just cover a case, the kid who killed the sorority girls? Right, Kohlberger, exactly. Right. So, sometimes
it should always be considered, Arthur, but it's not binding. It's merely persuasive. And there has to be some level of objectivity in this very subjective way of punishing people. 4 deaths with his history. Come on.
Well, but wait a minute, Mark. So the defense attorney, put on the defense attorney's cap,
sure,
is going to say, as he already has, hey, nobody can put the gun in my client's hand.
Oh, different story.
But also,
weak case, different story. Go ahead, Jonna.
But also, the defendant is claiming he's innocent. Let's roll SOP 5.
Innocent of what I'm charged with, yes, sir. I'm not an innocent man, but I'm not guilty of what they charged me with. I had no reason to hurt these people. They were my girlfriend's family who had became my family. I took Adriana to the hospital to have her baby. I helped teach Braden to drive. Matthew was like a little brother to me, man.
Oh, I misspoke. He told me he's innocent, so he's innocent. Oh, my goodness. And I was sending him to the chair. Listen, he says whatever he wants. Let's see what the evidence shows, obviously. So if he didn't do it, I guess there's someone else out there who did? Okay. All right. I'll keep an open mind.
I can't even look at his face. And I don't know if there's drugs involved in this. Like, why would, I mean, granted, he's just a serial criminal. Why would he just kill not one, not two, not three, but
that's
four
the thing.
People?
There's no motive, right? And now everybody knows they don't need to prove a motive, but jurors usually prefer to have some sort of a motive floating around. And you already heard his defense. Why would I do this? This is my soon-to-be child's mother's family. They were like family to me. I took this one to the hospital. I did finger painting with that one. So why, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you tell me. Yes, they don't have to prove motive. I get it. But why? Mm-hmm. Why would he do this? Why would this guy do this? What's his motivation? Yes, he was around there, but why would he be the one shooting his brother-in-law to be 11 times? It just doesn't make sense.
No, but it also doesn't make sense that 4 innocent people are dead. Thank God a 7-month-old baby is not. But speaking of babies, let's pivot slightly and talk for a few minutes about the baby Emmanuel Haro.
Nice segue, Jonna. Beautiful. Very nice segue. Seamless.
You right? Thank you.
Producing on the air here, Eiglarsh. I mean, and who are you? Are you kidding me? Stay in your lane, Mark. Go back into the courtroom. And where's your tie? Where is your tie?
All right, I don't need this. Objection.
Bro.
Move to strike.
You know
all
who
these
you're
comments.
on with?
Oh,
my
stop
God,
it,
I spent
Arthur.
hours doing my
Please,
hair.
we don't have people I don't have someone who buys clothing for me like you do. Enough. All right.
Arthur's only the second best dressed attorney in New York. So
the first bald best dressed one.
Baby Emmanuel, we still do not have a body, but that does not seem to be stopping prosecutors from moving forward with murder charges. Now, our good friend, Matt Murphy, who we were speaking of before we got on the air today, says there is no problem getting a conviction, even though there is not a body. What say you?
Well, I was involved with a case where they had like a scrape of DNA in the trunk. And they got in the trunk of the car of the defendants, and that was what they used to get the conviction.
These people were the parents. There's going to be DNA, Arthur. They were the parents of this young boy.
Excuse me, Madam Hostess. I didn't say the exact same facts were the same here. I'm just saying it is possible. You don't need the body to get the conviction. Your friend, Jose Baez, right? He was on the Casey Anthony case. They didn't have a body for forever. And then they finally found the body. So there are cases where people get prosecuted where you do not have the deceased corpus.
So here are my thoughts on this. We heard that they did speak to law enforcement, which is why we saw a video of him in some field and they were looking. Whether they ultimately find it or not, you know that he spoke enough, and she probably spoke enough, both defendants, to give them the idea that this child is not alive and that they're responsible. So whether they ultimately find the child because maybe it was removed by, I don't want to speculate, but they can't find the child, I still think that they have a viable case.
But remember, the bullshit story that the mother told way back in the beginning was that somebody came up, knocked her out in a parking lot, and took the baby. Which, when it comes to baby, look, if we disappeared, if any of us disappeared, you're gonna know that we're dead when we don't. Arthur's not buying drinks at a 5-star restaurant, and Mark, you're not upping your pickleball equipment, and I'm not shopping for shoes. Right? Our footprint's gone. We're dead. But if you're a baby, you don't have a footprint, right? Somebody could have taken this baby. Somebody could be living with this baby as their own. So I think, while I agree you don't need a body, this one might be tough.
Look at the history of the father. I mean, he's got a history of this.
Yeah.
Do you see prosecutors being able to get that in?
I was just going to say that.
It's totally going to be up to obviously, if he testifies, it would come in.
He ain't testifying. There ain't no way anybody's going to care about what he has to say and judge him favorably. There is no way. So next, How else do you get that in? Prosecutors want to argue he did it before, and thus he would do it again, which the court of public opinion are going, yeah, that's exactly what we should hear. Yeah, you should hear it on this program. But in a court of law, it's not going to happen unless somehow there's an exception.
It's not supposed to happen, but there are cases where it does. Does happen. But just for folks to know, he beat a child until she was permanently disabled. And then he went to some school where he did a really good job, like child raising school. And so they said, okay, he doesn't need to go to jail for this. We're just going to put him on some kind of supervised release situation. And here we are with this.
And that school or somebody, they said he was the lowest risk to reoffend.
Yeah.
That school's got no credibility, zero.
Yeah. They almost gave him Father of the Year award and then let him out. It's absolutely freaking ridiculous. Yeah. And that's a whole other side of this horrible and tragic case. But we are going to pivot because next we are going to give you a preview of the important motion decisions coming up for Luigi Mangione. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can now send us an email at mktruecrime@devilmaycaremedia.com. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll be right back.
Why are elite athletes, business leaders, and high performers turning to Armra Colostrum? Armra Colostrum is nature's first whole food, packed with over 400 bioactive nutrients that work at the cellular level to support lean muscle growth, accelerate recovery, and fuel performance, all without artificial stimulants or synthetic ingredients. Whether you are training hard or managing a busy schedule or just simply looking for an edge, Armra says it can help optimize your body for peak output. Armra Colostrum reports to enhance metabolism, improve nutrient absorption, and support hormone balance for better energy and fat-burning potential. Additional benefits include support for hair growth, skin radiance, and faster recovery after intense activity, making it a powerful tool for anyone looking to perform at their best. And here's a special offer. Receive 30% off your first subscription order. Just go to armra.com/Megan or enter code Megan at checkout. That's ARMRA.com/Megan to get 30% off your first subscription order.
And now for updates on what's happening with Luigi Mangione's state and federal cases. Arthur, why don't you bring us up to speed?
Okay, so for those of people who forgot who this young man is, he's the one man who is accused of executing the president of United Healthcare early in the morning, a couple of blocks from where I'm seated right now in Midtown Manhattan by a hotel I walk by on a very regular basis. There is a video of it. He then went on the run and he gets caught with the gun and his diary. And Mark and I have both won some very difficult cases. But boy, this is a doozy for a defense attorney to get out of. I mean, usually when the execution is on video and it's pretty apparent that it is your client who's pulling the trigger, executing someone, and you can see it there, it's pretty hard to get out of that. So
Arthur,
what happens?
He's got no shot at a not guilty.
Well, so here's the deal. And this is the sad part, in my opinion, of the criminal justice system. This is clearly a murder case. And a murder case is 90% of the time prosecuted by the local prosecutor's offices. So this case got international publicity, and it was appropriately prosecuted. The NYPD arrested him. They searched him and got him, made the arrest. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office, Joel Seidman, who's maybe the most senior guy in the office. He's a brilliant trial attorney, is going to try the case. And then Damian Williams, a prosecutor in the Southern District of New York, who is looking to be president of the United States, and I don't say that jokingly, I think that's his goal in life, says, no, we're going to charge him. We're going to charge him under like this obscure like terrorist law. So now the state prosecutor and the federal prosecutor, even though now it's a new federal prosecutor who's much better, I may add, they're at war over who's going to go first, who's going to go second. And in the feds, is this a death penalty eligible case? Should there be a death penalty here? And that's where we are from a logistical point of view.
Okay, so let's slice through it all. The minute we saw that video, all of us, I'm going to speak for both of you, you tell me if I'm wrong, immediately said, okay, this guy will not and should not ever get out of prison. That is a life sentence when you execute someone the manner in which he did. Do you both agree with me? Let's start with that premise.
Sure.
Okay. Arthur, I didn't get a yes out of you. Come on.
Well, I want to hear about the mitigation, but go ahead.
Well,
he's in his 20s. He's in his 20s. He's in his 20s.
Hold on.
Please.
Let's talk mitigation. Mitigation would be if somehow he proceeds to go to trial and then somehow you're balancing the aggravating and the mitigating factors in a federal death penalty case, which it should never get to that point. I believe that they will and should waive the death penalty, let him plead in both state and or federal court to a life sentence and be done with it. That's what should happen. That's what will happen. There is nothing else on the table. The defense lawyers are doing their job zealously to give him the constitutional rights that he deserves. But at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, and in the middle of the day, this guy deserves life.
Well, I do think getting a death verdict would be difficult in this case.
Agreed.
So if it's going to be difficult, and really, I think the defense attorneys here are hoping for one thing and one thing only, and that is no death. They win if they just get this guy life in prison. I'm gonna argue with Arthur, I'm sure, because I don't think there's one damn mitigating factor in here. And in fact, I think it's disgusting that anybody has joined.
So let's just say the two of you are right. Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just mentioned the word fan club. Do you know who gets the most mail like old school mail that we used to get in the mailbox in the whole Metropolitan Detention Center?
I'm sure
where you have the likes of Puff Daddy, etc., is Mangione. He gets gifts, he gets presents, he gets sweaters. I don't think he receives them because they get taken away.
You're not suggesting that they're going to pack this jury with stealth jurors, people who are gaga over Mangione, and they're going to find him not guilty?
All you need is no, I'm not saying that, but you just need one to say the healthcare system is all screwed up and people who need operations aren't getting them because it's financially not in the best interest of the insurance company. Look, Mark, I don't agree with it, but I am in shock how many people protest for him. Free Luigi. It's a whole thing over here in the Manhattan courthouse. Free Luigi. There's all people outside.
Let me
with
ask you
signs
guys.
and shirts.
Let me ask you both. I'm with you, but let's go back to legal. Do you believe that he was committing an act of terrorism like state prosecutors are alleging? Do you believe that it fits the definition of that? And will they be able to convince a jury of it? Both of you, I would love to hear your thoughts.
No, it's not. It's not terror. It's just cold.
Arthur?
Yeah, I don't think that was the legislative intent. Even though Justice Scalia says, I don't care what the legislative intent is, I care what the words say in the statute. I don't think this one particular act. Now, he was doing something to send a message. He's sending a message to the healthcare industry. And this is what doesn't make sense. He was actually treated very well by the healthcare industry, Luigi Mangione, but he was sending a message and trying to intimidate a certain sector of society. And that's one of the factors that the judge is supposed to take into consideration. But I mean, just to be clear with the law in New York, if that part gets thrown out and he's just charged with murder in the second degree and gets convicted, Judge Haro, who's been a judge for a very long time and is a no-nonsense judge, is giving him 25 to life. And, his parole officer probably isn't even born yet.
Well, that's a victory to have second degree as opposed to first. And,
that would be a travesty.
Did he really do this to affect a larger community, or was he looking to execute this one person for some reason?
Well, no, but I don't think he knew this guy. I mean, he wasn't this personal. This other guy didn't sleep with his wife. I don't think he knew. I think he was sending.
Well, then you're making the argument. Then you're making the argument for terrorism. He was affecting a larger community, sending a message to all the healthcare CEOs. You better play more fair. Whatever his stupid ass message was at the time. So
he also sent a message to Brian Thompson's 2 children who now do not have a father. How about that message?
Oh, you're taking away my closing argument. Let's just wait.
Sorry.
I'm ready. I'm ready for that.
Please.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this poor guy pumped up to me. I'll play now a flip side. Oh, Mangione's going to get acquitted. He's going to get acquitted. I said, yeah, right. The mother or the wife, assuming, is going to testify usually for a prosecutor as the first witness. And she's going to do the body ID, talking about the autopsy. Yes, I had to go in and identify his body. How you think, and she's going to be crying on the stand. Joel Simon will have her all prepped in the state court to be emotional. I'm sure it's not going to take much for her to be emotional, talking about the execution of her husband. Those 12 jurors, all of that sympathy, all of that free Luigi stuff, I think that goes right out the window.
I want to talk about the death penalty for a second. In the last segment, I was saying, if not that guy who killed 4 people and has that criminal history, then who? Now we compare that to Mangione. It was not, and these are some of the factors, the killing was not under the definition of especially heinous, atrocious, and cruel. You know those types of murders that are so horrible. He went and he shot someone. Horrible. But within those when you're comparing him to other murders, it doesn't fit that definition. He's got no priors. It's one death. I'm not minimizing it. We're just saying that you're supposed to compare him because death is different, the Supreme Court ruled. So should they be seeking the death penalty for this particular defendant?
That's my point. That's the former U.S. Attorney of the Southern District, Damian Williams, the same guy who indicted Puff Daddy, the same guy who went after Mayor Eric Adams, the same guy who really wanted to grab every headline he possibly could. And just so you know, I'm not wrong. The second Biden loses, he resigns and starts his own website, DamianWilliams.com. That is not what former federal prosecutors do. It's not what Rudy Giuliani did. It's not what Preet Bharara did. That he's looking to make a name for himself. And Mangione, it's so rare the feds are going to steal a case from a prosecution, state prosecution on a pure just murder case, which should just be a state case. But then he really wants to grab the headlines. We're going to ask for the death penalty in New York, which is so rare. I mean, I don't have a recollection of the last time, except maybe killing of a police officer some years back.
So, John, do you agree with us?
For publicity.
No.
Do you agree? Do you think he should get the death penalty that they should seek? Listen, I don't mind if the guy winds up on death row just because what he did was so abhorrent. I'll be telling you about it in closing argument again. But do you think that legally this should be one of those cases that the Supreme Court determines is different than the other homicides that warrant the death penalty? Yes or no,
This is
John?
not a run-of-the-mill murder. This guy plotted, planned, wrote a manifesto, targeted the CEO of one of the largest, if not the largest, healthcare companies in the world, my healthcare company. Look, guys, we're lawyers. People don't love us either. Newsflash, right? Does that give anybody the right?
Speak for yourself.
Does that?
Speak for yourself.
Arthur is beloved.
To hunt us down at a CLE conference and shoot us in the back of the head because they don't like lawyers and they had a shitty divorce or they
wait, hold on. What's CLE?
And no one's
very
defending,
funny.
Jonna, no one's
Very
defending, no one's defending the actions. Let's talk legally. And you made a point. Perhaps it is.
Those are aggravating factors.
Hold on. Cold, calculated, premeditated, CCP, very well thought out. That is an aggravating factor. He didn't just see the dude and say, I'm going to shoot him. Mm-hmm. So that's to your point. Look, there's one.
I know a little bit about this case. I spoke to his family when they were on the hunt for an attorney. And the things that will come out if it gets to that point is that, number one, he comes from a phenomenal family who are totally in shock that this happened. Number two, I believe that. Number two, he's getting the reputation of being like the model prisoner. So I forget who just had to surrender. And he's like the ambassador and saying, okay, this is how you survive prison. Number three, he had this horrible back at like a very, very young age. He had open spinal surgery, and there's going to be expert testimony how that affected his mental ability and his reasoning skills. So there'll be, and Karen Agnifilo and her husband, Mark, who I know, and Mark just tried the Puff Daddy case. They're not going to go in this, lying down. They're going to go in this with a vigorous defense. So it's not going to just be like an open and shut situation. That's you
think he's going to plead to life if it's offered, correct? I mean, come on. You guys would.
I would think that's what his parents, Mangione's parents and family would ask him to do.
Correct.
I think that's the goal. And
we all agree.
We probably will hear more about the extreme emotional disturbance as the case goes on because, like we said, September is a big month and it's not over yet. But talking about Mangione is over for us for now. Next, your emails, our closing arguments in a 2011 case where a woman was stabbed, get this, 20 times, and a pathologist labeled it a suicide. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I've been talking a lot about Riverbend Ranch lately because I love their steaks. Those Riverbend Ranch steaks are something else. Riverbend Ranch has taken Black Angus beef to a whole new level. Did you recently hear RFKJ, head of the Maha movement, saying really all he eats is red meat and fermented products? Hello, Riverbend Ranch has got you covered. For the last 35 years, Riverbend Ranch has been creating a very elite Angus herd by using ultrasound to select genetically superior cattle with a focus on flavor and tenderness. When you buy from Riverbend Ranch, you're not only supporting the 64 cowboys and cowgirls and their families who work on the ranch, but you're also supporting over 260 other U.S. ranches and the hundreds of American families who work on them. It is born in the USA, raised in the USA, and processed in the USA. It is aged to perfection for 21 days and shipped directly from the ranch to your home. This is not your average Black Angus beef, so order from riverbendranch.com. Use the promo code Megan for $20 off your first order, and let me know what you think. riverbendranch.com, promo code Megan.
Okay, so we're going to get to your questions and our own closing arguments. But first, we want to highlight a case that is back in the spotlight after 14 years. Gruesome and a head scratcher. Guys, Ellen Greenberg revisited. Let me just give you the tee up. 2011, Ellen had a fiance named Sam Goldberg. He was returning from a workout in his apartment complex to find the door to the apartment he shared with Ellen, a first grade teacher, was latched from the inside. She wasn't responding to his knocks, calls, or texts, so Goldberg later called the police and had to break in. He found Ellen slumped and bloodied on the kitchen floor, a 10-inch knife protruding from her chest. He then proceeded to call 911 and tell the dispatch that she stabbed herself. Can we roll that SOT 6?
I'm looking at her right now. I can't see anything. There's nothing broken. She's bleeding. Ellie.
You don't know where she's bleeding from? Can't see
Ellie,
where the blood's coming from?
I think her head. I think she hit her head, but it's up everywhere.
Want to do CPR with me over the phone so they can...
I have to, right?
Okay, so get her flat on her back, bare her chest, okay? You want to rip her shirt off?
Shirt won't come off. It's a zipper. Oh, my God. She stabbed herself.
Where?
She fell on a knife. Oh, no. Her knife's sticking out.
Her what?
There's a knife sticking out of her heart.
Oh, she stabbed herself?
I guess so. I don't know where she fell on it. I don't know.
Okay, well, don't touch it.
Okay, so I just let her here now? I mean, what do I do?
No, I mean, you can't. If the knife is in her chest, it's going to be kind of hard for you to do CPR at this time.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness.
That dispatch should have said, don't touch it again, because I'm sure he plunged it into her chest. What a bad acting job. I mean, am I alone in this? This guy was so full of shit when he made that 911 call. It's obvious. Mark, do you agree?
My heart breaks for the guy, man. He seems like he's traumatized, and she
do
fell on the
CPR.
knife.
Do I have to? I guess I have to.
She fell on a knife. Donna, she fell on the knife.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Okay.
That happens a lot.
We don't have video of what happened at the crime scene, so we're left to speculate, right?
Oh, no.
So here's what I'm going to lay it out for you. Here's what I think happened. A small police car showed up to the scene, and about 20 law enforcement officers came out, and they had difficulty walking to the crime scene because they had super large shoes, red and shiny. They had suspenders, a red nose, and the department issued rainbow wigs. When they got to the scene, to his credit, Chief Chuckles said, I need you fellas to do a thorough examination of the crime scene. To which Detective Tickles said, boss, why do we have to spend 5 minutes doing a thorough investigation? Let's just ask the guy who found his fiance. He has a theory. So Sergeant Sillypants went over and asked him, hey, what happened? And he said, she committed suicide. And that's when Inspector Giggles said, yeah, but there's like 20 stab wounds, including some to the back. And that's when Agent Lollipop stepped in. And he said, guys, let me remind you of what we learned at Barnum and Bailey Investigative Institute. It's not about the truth. It's about having fun. Honk, honk, squirt, squirt. That's all I've got. Thank you.
That's a pretty good theory, Mark.
Yeah.
That's a good theory.
Obviously, with the wounds would speak for themselves. But John, isn't there a pathologist who said it could have been some of these wounds could have been self-inflicted?
They ruled it a suicide. She has. Can I show you the diagram? She's got 10 knives in her chest, 10 in the back of her neck. How is that physically possible? How much money did someone have to pay this pathologist to say that 20 stab wounds to the back and the front was suicide? I don't blame. So her parents wanted this reopened. I do not blame them. Thank God that they are reopening and taking another look at this. I'm telling you, the boyfriend, who was not the least bit upset to just happened to find his girlfriend lying dead. Can't do CPR. Do I really have to? Oh no, it's him.
The police's response, as you can tell, angers me to no end. They didn't take the body into custody. They said, hey, do whatever you want with it. He got it immediately cremated. The entire scene was wiped down and sanitized. So when the police finally wanted to do something about this, oh yeah, everything was gone. And these parents have spent all their life savings. I watched interviews of them. They're grieving because they know that this is not what occurred. This was not suicide.
No. And kudos to them for just not letting it go. I don't blame them. And I hope that we're going to continue to follow this. Right now, Mark.
Yes.
We have some mail to attend to.
Yeah, we do read this stuff, by the way. We do. Love it. Yeah.
And we love it. We started taking emails. Mark, would you like to read the email from Shannon?
I'd be happy to. Shannon wrote, I have a master's degree in psychology and worked my way up doing administrative work. I'm 37 years old. I thought about becoming a lawyer, but suspect I may be too old. Is 37 too old to become a lawyer? Give it to me straight. Absolutely not, Shannon.
No way.
No way. That's young. And you have the psychology background? Absolutely. If your heart's in the right place, you want to help people, you want to be in an industry where you can zealously assist people who need you, absolutely, please join us. We'd love to have you.
I got sworn in as a lawyer at 25, but I would say I didn't know how to be a lawyer until I was 40. No, I'm actually not even saying that in jest.
You're still learning.
It takes a little while.
Yeah, it does.
Well, that's why they call it the practice of law. You're always practicing. You never get there. But also, there's a level of maturity.
Yes.
I think that is very, very useful. Not only mastering the law, but dealing with clients, dealing with your adversaries, dealing with your judges.
And work-life balance. I mean, listen, one thing is being a lawyer. Being a happy lawyer is challenging, and staying spiritually fit every day when you're fighting for a living.
Like Mark Eiglarsh.
Trying to shove your soul back into your being. Yeah. As it's getting sucked out, that's what we have to work on as lawyers.
Dark.
And like Shannon, I too am 37 years old, and I have been practicing for 32 of those years. And I would only say to her,
Great.
How old are you going to be in 3 years if you don't go to law school? So go if you want.
Go for it.
Yes.
We have another quick email from Renata, who says, hi, love true crime, love this show. We love you, Renata, for saying that. She would also love to see Matt Murphy or anyone on the opposite view versus Mark Garagos in regard to whether the Menendez brothers should be paroled. Renata, before we address that, Friday's your lucky day because Matt Murphy, Mark Garagos, going to be on this Friday's show. Don't miss it. And I'm sure they have opposite views. So, guys, this is, I think, fast becoming my favorite part of the show. We are now going to do our closing arguments. I am going to go last, not because it's the best, but because I am more wordy than the two of you combined.
Yes. Yes, you are.
I am. So, let's go in alphabetical order. Arthur, take it away.
So, I was misquoted or mischaracterized about an appearance I made on air about Ghislaine Maxwell and whether there was a quid pro quo for her to speak to the Justice Department and then her housing being moved. Even though I made it very clear that although I represent Miss Maxwell, I know nothing about that because I wasn't involved in that part of it, and I didn't want to know anything about it because I didn't want to be in a position to have to speak to it. So I really don't know what happened. However, the criminal justice system is based on quid pro quo. It is based on plea bargaining. Period. Amen. End of story. If we didn't have people pleading guilty, the system would come to a grinding halt. And in fact, in the federal system, once you plead guilty, you get an obvious advantage because whatever your exposure was, whatever your possible jail sentence was, the recommendation to the judge, it automatically gets reduced by law. So those your guidelines get reduced by law. So yes, folks, I hate to break the news to you, but the criminal justice system is a quid pro quo system when it comes to defendants pleading guilty. And I think Justice Alito wrote in his last decision about this, over 94% of people who are arrested in federal court ultimately plead guilty.
94. Okay. Bravo. Mr. Eiglarsh?
Okay. 16 and 19. 16 and 19. Those are the ages of the sons of Brian Thompson, who was allegedly killed by Luigi Mangione. That's how old they were when he was killed. There's also his wife that was left. And what I'm getting real tired of hearing is people justifying his actions. Somehow, because some healthcare companies aren't treating people fairly, that somehow this shooting is justified. All I want you to do is think about that 16-year-old, the 19-year-old, one of my sons is 19 years old, who will no longer have a father in their life. Just think about that.
Pretty powerful. Okay, we're going to pivot with mine because I want to rant favorably about Cardi B. Cardi B may be the second wealthiest female rapper on the planet, but when it comes to refusing to be a bullseye for bullshit, she takes first place. Last week, as you saw right here on the podcast, famed rapper Cardi B prevailed in a civil case brought against her by a woman seeking $24 million for a 60-second chance encounter. Plaintiff claimed Cardi B had battered her, causing injury to plaintiff's face. Cardi's weapon of choice, a well-manicured fingernail. The rapper denied any wrongdoing and said she was merely bucking against the blatant invasion of privacy thrust upon her by the plaintiff, who happened to be a security guard behaving more like paparazzi, as Cardi emerged from the hallowed halls of the gyno. Celebrities get sued all the time by gold diggers looking to cash in, but they're not the only ones to blame. There's an entire industry of drooling lawyers who choose to chase Bentleys over ambulances, going after deep pocket defendants for nonsense, aka nuisance, all the time. The incentive isn't justice, it's math. The hope is that the rich defendant will quickly and quietly write a check to make the matter go away and avoid the unnecessary scrutiny, crappy publicity, and $1,000 an hour legal bills that go along with high-profile litigation. Sadly, it works. Until it didn't. Enter Cardi B. Cardi could have written a paltry check against that laughable multi-million-dollar demand and called it a day, but she didn't. Why? Because what she wasn't willing to do was take anybody's shit. The price tag for being a patsy was simply too high to pay. It was also a decision that likely cost her more in legal fees than any settlement sum would have been. An added bonus for those who watched is the line in the sand she drew by her testimony, which was gold record good. Cardi B may not make my kind of music, but she's definitely my kind of person. She didn't just take the stand, she took a stand and refused to be somebody's doormat, chew toy, or slot machine. But you don't have to be rich and famous to follow suit. The world may refer to her as Cardi B, but I say, why not be Cardi and never write a check that your self-worth can't cash?
Nice, Jonna.
Wow,
Very
you
nice.
lowered your hourly rate to $1,000 an hour. That was very nice of you.
Excellent.
Very nice.
Bravo, host.
I was going to do my
fabulous.
Cardi B imitation and throw pen at the camera, but okay. I guess what we will now do is say thanks to two of my all-time favorites. I mean, we love each other even though we give each other crap. But thank you, and thank you, everybody, for joining us today at MK True Crime. Don't forget to send us your story suggestions, your questions, your comments, all to mktruecrime@devilmaycaremedia.com. That's mktruecrime@devilmaycaremedia.com. The next show drops Friday. Have a great rest of your week.